Hello.
She is. Oh dear me, you get my heart going, Susan.
Sorry,
That's all right.
Laptop, but it wasn't to be.
Oh, how are you, my love?
I'm very good. Yeah, really good. Thank you. And what about you?
I'm really well. Yeah, we can't complain when the sun shines. So
It does make all the difference.
keeping busy. Have you been in work today?
Yes, I've been at work today, and it was quite a manageable day. No problems.
Good. Well, thank you so much for joining us tonight, especially when you've been at work today. Hi, everybody that's joining. Lovely to see you. Lots of people returning, lots of new faces as well. So thank you very much just for bearing with us. So I am Miriam. Just to introduce you, I'm Miriam. I run Parent Tribe. I'm a hypnobirthing practitioner and a mindfulness coach for mums. And I am joined today by the gorgeous, just wonderful midwife that is Susan Meadows. Susan, do you want to say what you do, what your role is?
Sure.
With SASH?
Yeah. So I'm the manager of the birth centre. I have a job share called Joe that some of you probably know. And my passion really is in providing personalised care plans for women and empowering women and supporting women in their choices of a healthy, happy birth.
Amazing. We love you for it. So I've had lots of questions again.
Sure.
Can I ask you, Susan, am I on your computer?
You're on my phone now.
I'm on your phone, okay. There's a little echo. Can somebody or people let us know if the sound is okay this evening? I hope so. All good? Anyone give me a thumbs up? So I will just, as I always start, great. Hi, Laura. Hi, Infinity. I just want to start by saying a huge thank you, not only to Susan, but to all the NHS staff for all their efforts during this time. What you're doing is just incredible. And then to offer just the help for us and give us your time as well is just amazing. It just goes to show how much you care about what you do and you care about women and babies. So for anyone that's joining that's not with the SASH team or under the SASH team, please know that we're looking at the policies and protocols for East Surrey or with East Surrey. So if you're unsure, please double check with your hospital as well. I don't know why I can hear an echo. I don't know why it's bothering me, but I'll keep going. So why did we start these lives? I just want to quickly say that I didn't expect them to be so popular, but clearly so many of you, as you would in any normal time, would feel quite anxious possibly, or you'd have lots of questions around birth. And I wanted to come on here and talk to you specifically about what's happening at the hospital with COVID-19. But we are happy if you do have other questions as well. We'll try and get to them, but it is specifically at the moment just the changes that are happening whilst we're going through this very uncertain, unsettling time, just to try and you know, give you some comfort and help you to feel really informed. I don't know how to mute Susan, Laura, on Instagram. Susan, maybe you could just turn me down a bit on your phone. I don't know why there's a bit of an echo. I'll do the same. Sorry, guys. The sound just never... I've come off Facebook even and we're still having problems. But anyway, let's get going. So I've had lots of questions again, Susan, as you can imagine. I will do my best to get to them. Please comment below if you have anything that you'd like to ask. My lovely sister is going to be taking some notes for me and then posting them to me. So hopefully I can get to them for you. So I think I'll split them again, Susan, and we'll talk, we'll go through sort of antenatal labour and sort of work our way through. So it's been a week since we spoke to the lovely Sian. I assume, you know, everything that you've been putting in place with COVID is still happening at the hospital. I think it would just be nice to have an update from you really and just hear how things are going over there.
Yeah, sure. So as of 9 o'clock this morning, there was 110 inpatients in the trust as a whole, who had received a COVID-19 positive test and 54 with a negative COVID-19 test. And we don't have any COVID positive women on the maternity at the moment, to my knowledge. Obviously, things change all the time. And this week, since last week, they've been looking and re-looking at the pathways of care. And I thought I'd just give some clarity around the antenatal pathway of care, because it is different. It's quite different to how it was. And I have all my notes around me, and I might not know the answer to everything, but I'll do my best to make it clearer. And it has been confusing for women, and I appreciate that. It's been confusing for us as well at times, because it does change all the time.
Yeah, absolutely.
But as we stand, the consultant appointments are being streamlined. Our shared care with the community midwives and the consultants was an issue before COVID, because women just had loads and loads of appointments, and sometimes they didn't even know what their appointment was for. So it has definitely been streamlined. And the way the pathway is working at the moment for all women, and obviously I can't answer individual requests here, so if you get back to me after, then we'll do our best to help those women. But the community teams are phoning women at booking and doing booking appointments over the phone. And if at that appointment they flag up any concerns, any issues, or any special needs, they will refer as normal to the relevant consultant or to the Maple team. And the Maple team are the peri-mental health team. And I can talk a little bit more about them in a moment. And so then women who have more needs, they should be contacted as normal with their consultant appointments. And they will have a personalised plan put in place for their pregnancy. And these appointments are triaged by the consultants. They may be a telephone call, they may be face-to-face appointments. It depends on the need. And if you don't hear anything, it may be that you haven't been triaged as to need an appointment at that time. Some things we're really learning from this COVID that we might continue even after. And obviously everything that we've done, some things are put on the risk register to make sure that we're still safe. And it's all done under the umbrella and the guidance of the national guidance and the RCOG. So once they have their booking appointment on the telephone, then there's the dating scan time, which is between about 11 and 14 weeks. And that's now a one-stop clinic. So at that clinic, you should have your dating scan, your bloods, blood pressure, urine, and all your combined screening. And that's all done in one clinic. And that's happening on Brockamord at the moment, I believe. Okay. And then your 16-week appointment is a telephone consultation. And then you would have an anomaly scan between 18 and 21 weeks as normal. Then it gets a little bit streamlined after this. 28-week appointment is face-to-face, and you would have bloods at that time. If it was deemed that you needed, I know there were some questions about glucose and diabetes testing, that would be flagged up at that appointment. And any other issues or needs would be escalated by the community midwife at that appointment. MATB1 forms for work, they'll be issued at that appointment. And again, we're trying to do as many things in the one appointment at that 28-week appointment as we can, like for people who need to have their iron levels checked and stuff like that, that would all be done then. Then the 32 and 36-week appointments are going to be face-to-face as they were, and they're happening in the children's outpatients department. And then the 38-week phone is a phone consultation now. Obviously, this doesn't apply if you have special needs, or I don't mean special needs, but if you have certain things that need to be looked at. And then the 40-week appointment is face-to-face, where you would be offered a sweep, and that will be done in the children's outpatient again. And that's probably when you would have your induction of labour booked at that time. And then if you haven't had your baby, the 41-week would be appointment would be a phone consultation. So that's kind of it in a nutshell. And again, it's not the same for every woman. It does still depend on the personal needs of each woman and each pregnancy.
And how is the outpatients with the children's? Is that working out well? I've had some lovely responses about that. Women saying how lovely it is,
Yeah.
how warm the staff were.
Yeah, it seems to be going really well. And again, like just before this all happened, we were looking at continuity cares and changing the way the maternity service is delivered as a whole. So actually a huge amount of learning has come up from this. And that's something that we would be looking to in the future when the continuity teams are back instated, is to have these clinics so that women can go and have everything done under one roof and see the midwives in clinics, which a lot of women prefer than waiting in all day. It's a bit more convenient for a lot of women.
Yeah.
And then postnatally, the care is happening in the outpatient, children's outpatient as well. The day one, when you go home from hospital with the baby, that's a phone call. But then day 5, where you have the newborn blood spot test and a postnatal check, and day 10, they're being done as clinics in the children's outpatients department at the moment. So I hope that makes it a little bit clearer. That's as it stands at the moment.
Yeah, there's been a lot of questions about glucose testing. Did you mention that when that's?
I did. That is going to, if it's a need and if you're risk assessed that that's something that you would need, that is being done at the 28-week appointment, as far as I know. And now I did ask my colleague. Oh, here we go. I have a note on that. Sorry. So women who are found to have that they would need to have a glucose tolerance test will be flagged up at booking, and then that will be a random glucose blood test would be taken at booking, as far as and so those women will probably have face-to-face consultation, and then it was repeated at the 28 weeks. Sorry, my mistake. So it would be done at booking, and then it would be repeated at 28 weeks to everybody who was developing gestational diabetes.
Yeah, okay. And then the pre-op appointments for elective cesareans.
Yes.
Are they? How are they? Are they via the phone? Are they?
I'm going to just check my notes on that.
And if you don't, and Susan, if you're not sure, I'd rather we can follow on that next week.
I'm not sure, to be honest.
That's fine.
The only pathway I didn't swat up on, if I'm honest. But I might have something about it here. But if not, I can get back to you and let you know, and you can put it. We can post it. Let me see. Section pathway. I'm not sure. I'm sorry.
That's fine. Let's get it right, and then we'll can answer that. Lots of questions coming up now, so I will get to your questions probably towards the end, everybody, if we can't. Elections allowed at the hospital at the moment. Okay, I'm going to come back to some of those. Forgive me if I just take my time to read some of your questions. They're all great questions. So we've had a question about I'll come to the birthing centre, Susan, given that's your baby. Lots of people asking, is it open? Are water births still going ahead? And I know that you answered this probably a couple of weeks ago, the first one we did, and you said absolutely, we're open for business. Can you give some comfort I get this a lot anyway, when it comes to hoping for a water birth, people worry about, will there be one available? Can we hear it from you? What's it like at the birth centre? How busy do you get? And then what's it like during this, this COVID-19?
So, to be honest, COVID-19 hasn't had as big an impact as it may have done on the birth centre at the moment. And it is definitely business as usual. I would advise women when they ring triage and they're invited to come in for their assessment, that they say at that point that they'd like to use the birth centre and have a water birth. Yeah. It just gives us time to shuffle people around and we always give priority to a woman in labour. So we'd be able to maybe move people around and get a room ready. We are still conducting water births under the national guidance. We have got some very sexy long gloves now. Just for our information. So we just got those this week. So that was a very exciting moment for us because the staff feel much more reassured and much more protected. But they are quite long and they have a little hook that goes over your head. But they're keeping everyone safe, protecting us, protecting you. So if you had planned to have a water birth, there's no reason why you can't have a water birth from a COVID-19 point of view. For women who have suspected or confirmed COVID-19, a water birth is not recommended because a study from China came out and showed that some of those babies of suspected and confirmed women did develop symptoms and become unwell. So it is recommended that women have continuous monitoring if they have symptoms or they're confirmed to have COVID-19. But as long as you are well and you have no symptoms and you'd already planned for a birth centre water birth, then there's no reason why it should go on. Occasionally we get full, but we are really lucky in our trust because we do have a pool on delivery suite as well. So we have 4 pools in the trust. So again, that's why that's telling the midwife, the triage midwife when you phone in that you'd like to have a water birth. It does give us time to prepare and we will do our best to facilitate it.
Great, okay. And I mean, being full, how often does that happen?
It does happen. And obviously if we suddenly had either a lot of women in labour at the one time, which doesn't happen that often, or if we had a lot of COVID positive or COVID suspected women in, then it wouldn't be able to happen. But it doesn't happen that often. Honestly, it doesn't happen. It's quite unusual for it to happen, but it can happen. I can't say that it wouldn't happen.
Okay, great.
It is rare.
Yeah, it is, isn't it? People get quite worried about that because they don't want to get their heart set on a water birth if it's always busy. And it is rare. It is
rare. And there's plenty of midwives who, I mean, a lot of the other trusts local to us have stopped providing water births as a service. So I'm proud that we are still offering that as a service. However, I mean, that could change. So again, that's what the information that I'm sharing with you now is open to change, but certainly at the moment I can't see any reason why we would stop doing water births for women who have no symptoms.
And can you have a water birth if you've been induced?
So it would depend on quite a few things. Again, there's no blanket answer. If you're being induced for a risk to the baby, for example, small growth or any other risk factor that would affect the baby, the answer is no, because there's a concern for the baby would need to be continuously monitored in labour because the fact that we're inducing you, we're concerned. If you're being induced because you're over your due date and your post dates, and you have one proston and or you have your waters broken and then you go into spontaneous labour, especially if you've had a baby before, then it is possible to still have a water birth and use the birth centre. So it depends on how your induction goes for you, and it depends on the reason why you're being induced in the first instance. So there's no blanket yes or no, but it's always worth asking the question when you're in. Keep asking, say, oh, can I still use the birth centre? You know, because if you've had your waters broken and you go into spontaneous labour, all that's happened is you're going to have a baby, right? So there's no reason why you shouldn't be able to use the birth centre.
That's a really good thing for people to remember, because lots of people are asking, I'm high risk, can I have a water birth, if I'm induced, etc. The point is, I think it's case by case. Susan can't answer that specifically, but it's communicating and just keep asking. And it really does, you know, even when you're in labour, you know, can I, would it be okay? How's the baby doing? You know, if it's important to you, let's work together on it. And
and we do personalised care plans for women who fall outside criteria and are wanting to use. So nobody should be told, no, you can't do this or no, you can't do that. Obviously, it's all under the umbrella of safety. But if people wanted to discuss it on an individual basis, if they emailed myself or Joe, my job share, then we can get in touch with them. Give us a bit of time to get back to you, and we can work together and come up with something that everybody's happy with or that you're happy with.
Absolutely. And you know, you are following policies, you are following protocol because
safety
there's evidence. but actually also there is looking at it as a woman, as an individual, and saying, well, let's look at you and let's work together and see what we can do.
Exactly. And I mean, we all want the same thing. Midwives, doctors and women, we all want a healthy, safe delivery of a baby at the end of the day. So that's what everybody wants. And as long as you've had that conversation with one of us and you know and you're informed, and that's where one of my passion lies, is in informing them so they can make those decisions for themselves then.
Yeah, absolutely. And if you go into labour and you decide, oh, I'd really like to try the water, but I haven't put it on my birth plan, that's okay, isn't it? You can still say, can I give it a go?
Absolutely. And you can get in and hate it and get straight back out again.
Exactly. No one's holding you to it.
No.
I'm going to ask this simply because I can see so many questions coming through about birth partners, men and women asking. Is there any update on partners attending antenatal appointments, scans, and the birth?
No, there's no change on antenatal appointments and scans. We still have a no visiting policy and no visiting on the postnatal ward. But we are still having, partners are still very welcome to come in once you're in labour and stay with you for the duration of that labour. And I know some people say, what if my labour is 12 hours? Yes, they can stay. And then they can stay with you for that initial hour or two after the baby's born while, you know, we're doing all the paperwork and stuff. But at the point where you go to the ward, then partners are being asked to leave the hospital. And I would like to say a huge shout out to all the dads out there, because this week everybody's been so understanding and so, you know, they totally understand why we can't have visitors, and they've been amazing, the dads, and I just want to give them a big shout out. And it really, you know, they've been amazing at not coming in, and then we call them and they come in at the right time when they're really needed. And it's not as bad as it might seem when you're not in the hospital so far. It's
okay. And birth partners, men and women, are getting there in time. There's no, because there's quite a few questions of women that have had fast labours before worry that birth partners won't get there again.
I mean, I think if you've had a very fast labour before, you need to just make that clear on the phone, and you need to say, you know, I'm really struggling here. I had a very quick delivery, and my partner's coming with me. You know, we can all. Everything, it's very hard. You can't have a blanket yes or no answer. No. There are obviously individual cases which can be discussed at the time.
Yeah, but you have a heart.
Of course we do. And it is
heartbreaking,
you know, like it is heartbreaking not being allowed to let birthing partners in. We feel it, you know, we feel it as well. It's not a situation any of us would choose or any of us would like. It's horrible. So we are, you know, genuinely, the staff are really going out of their way to have them with you at the right time when they're needed. But similarly, we can't have a lot of visitors, and we really are trying to keep that foot flow down. And so far it's working, because we haven't had that many cases, and I think we're managing things very well, actually.
Yeah, well, it sounds like you're doing excellent. I mean, the fact you know, it's amazing. It sounds like you're doing brilliantly. And how are women coping on the postnatal ward once their partners have gone home? How's the atmosphere there?
Yeah, I mean, again, they seem to be chatting to each other more, and you know, I mean, this week I've managed to pop over. I'm their visitor, because obviously I've seen them the day before when they're in labour. So I'm like, I'm just visiting, because you can't have any visitors. So it's not ideal, but actually, you know, one lady said to me that actually she would never have chosen it. She was really terrified about it, but it gave her all that time with her new baby.
Yeah.
And we're finding that, you know, bonding and feeding and everything, it is having some positive effects. So, you know, similarly, there are women who are very distressed and very upset at not having their birth partners there. And obviously we feel for those women too. Yeah, it's just the best we can do under the circumstances we find ourselves.
And things can change day to day, like you say.
I don't think that's going to change in the near future. I think that the visiting thing is, because it's working, we can't go back on that at the moment.
Now, last Tuesday, Sian had a little update on the home birth situation. I think you'd had a meeting. Is there any change at all, or any updates, any conversations that you could share with us about home birth?
So Michelle, our head of midwifery, and the senior managers are having weekly meetings with CCAM about home births specifically.
And that's ambulance, isn't it?
That's the ambulance control. At the moment, there is no change on that, because the ambulance service have told us that they feel they're under added pressure and added busyness with this pandemic, and they can't guarantee that they will get to a birth or a woman or a baby in as timely a manner as they would want to under normal circumstances. So that is a huge red flag for us, and a safety issue. So sadly, we have had to suspend the home birth service still this week, but it is being looked at every week, and we're very aware that it's a big deal, and we're very aware that as soon as it's possible, it will be reinstated, but certainly it's not at the moment. It would not be safe to do so. It's not been assessed as safe to do so at the moment. So we're still suspending at the moment. But we have had a lot of very positive feedback from women who are booked to have their babies at home and have had a good experience in the birth centre. And obviously it's not what they would have chosen, and we're empathise with that, but it can still be a positive experience, hopefully, for them.
Well, it's lovely. I mean, it's lovely, the birth centre. It's not home, of course it's not, but bring as much of home as you can into the room, I say. And you know, you do make it, you know, it's romantic even. It's a beautiful place to give birth. It's just like getting your head round the change, and it's still not home. It's still not home, and you have all the faff of trying to go home after and everything. You know, it is a bit more faffy, isn't it? Yeah, and I think as well, lots of people know about you talked about, or Sian's talked about, the 6-hour discharge. That many women can be, if all's well, can be discharged within that sort of 6 hours. If they are going to be discharged within the 6 hours of giving birth, birth partners will still have to leave after 2 hours and then come back. Is that correct?
That is correct at the moment, yes.
Yeah, okay. Okay, I'm going to come back to the questions that are coming through. So, birthing centre questions. Vaginal breach supported at the birthing centre?
Yes, I mean, we do have a new midwife who, I will never forget her. I think she's the clinical lead midwife who has a special interest in vaginal breech deliveries. And if someone was interested in that, if they email in either to Sasha or to one of us, we would make contact, and a plan would have to. But a plan would have to be put in place antenatally to support.
Okay, good, great. If I'm induced and then need an emergency C-section, can my partner be there? Yes.
Pardon?
Sorry, my love. If I'm induced and then need emergency C-section, can my partner be there?
Yes. The only reason we wouldn't have in theatre is if mum had to have a general anaesthetic for any reason, as Sian said last week, but that would have been our normal policy anyway. But if mum needs to go to theatre for an instrumental delivery or an emergency section, then partners are allowed in.
Yeah. And they can come through with you postnatally, can't they? After you've given birth, after C-section.
Yes.
Are they allowed to go through post-ward with you if it's C-section?
So if it's again, there's no blanket yes or no, and it's different in different circumstances. So for an elective caesarean section, those mums are recovered on the ward, on the postnatal ward, and those partners are allowed onto the ward because they won't have had that hour or two that women who haven't had a caesarean section have. So they would in that situation. If a mum has been in labour for a period of time and then needs an emergency caesarean section, they would be recovered on labour wards. So they would have that 1 or 2 hours. So whichever way it happens, we are still trying to honour that 1 or 2 hours with birth partners. Yeah.
Yeah.
So everybody's the same.
Yeah. And to clarify, whether it's planned or it's an emergency C-section, birth partners will be with you.
Well, in theatre.
Yeah.
As far as I know, I may have got that wrong, but as far as I know, yes. Yeah.
Planned. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
As long as they have no symptoms.
Yeah. I'm going to come back up to here on my questions. Okay. So on the postnatal ward, How is social distancing being managed between each patient? Have you moved the bays 2 meters apart? How are you managing the contact with the mums?
So we used to have like a shared eating area. So now meals are served at the bedside, and there is 2 meters between each bed space.
Okay.
So yeah, and staff are wearing PPE. Obviously, we can't stay 2 meters away when we're giving care, but
No.
we're wearing a mask and PPE when we're providing care for you. So yeah, it's quite manageable. That's again, with not having any visitors, it does make it a lot easier to adhere to that 2 meter rule.
Great. So I'm going to go sort of postnatally at the moment. We have a lot of questions about this. Do the midwives that work in the delivery suites also attend to the COVID-19 patients on the wards? Are they quite separate?
No.
Yeah.
So if a woman develops symptoms of suspected COVID in labour, then obviously we would be looking after her, and anybody who has suspected or symptoms will be looked after in a room on their own with the bathroom, and they would be kept separate from all. I mean, all our delivery rooms are single rooms anyway, with bathrooms. We're really lucky. They're all en suite and they're all individual rooms. So that room, they would stay in that room, and the midwives would give care. If the woman then became very, very unwell with symptoms, then she would be moved to one of the acute medical wards, because that is the specialist area. Because we're midwives, obviously we're practitioners of labour and birth and postnatal care and antenatal care, so the woman would be safer and better cared for on a medical ward, if that makes sense.
Understood. For anybody that's asking any questions and you haven't watched part 1 and 2 of Ask the Midwife, I really recommend, if I don't get to your question, I really recommend watching them, because a lot of these questions are a repeat of what we've already answered. So do go back and watch episode 1 and 2 of Ask the Midwife, and if it's still not answered, of course, please message me and we'll try and get to it another time. But some of them are answered in those episodes. And any breastfeeding questions, I am going to be doing a live next Tuesday with Sam Rush, who is the infant feeding and BFI project lead midwife at East Surrey. So she is going to be talking to us specifically about feeding support, tongue tie, any other questions like that. So please send those questions through. Somebody's, I saw a breastfeeding question actually, was it Laura? Yeah, it was. Hi, Laura. Is there specialist infant feeding support available post-birth, and is the tongue tie clinic still withdrawn? Is there an update on that, Susan?
The breastfeeding, the infant feeding supporters are still working as usual. All the support is there as normal. And the tongue tie clinic has been suspended for the moment. But if you've any concerns with feeding, or if the midwife thinks that your baby may have a tongue tie, the community midwives are being asked to email in to the people who do the tongue tie, and they will be contacted for support. They may not be able to have the tongue tie mend, whatever, snipped, but they will be given support.
Absolutely. And can I just also ask on that, having, with my first baby, I was discharged after a couple of hours, and then my breastfeeding journey wasn't brilliant at all. Can you ask, even if you're able to be discharged after that 6 hours, can you ask to stay in longer and have support, or not?
It's a bit low, of course. Yes. I mean, we wouldn't want to send anybody home if feeding wasn't established, or it was flagged up. We want to see babies naturally looking for feeding regularly. But again, Sam will be able to go into a lot more detail about it than me. But nobody is going to be, similarly, like it's not a prison. We can hold you if you want to go home. Nobody should be forcing you out the door. If you feel, you might need to say though, because we just assume everyone can't wait to leave the hospital. So sometimes we're like busy saying, okay, let's get you going. You might think actually, but the midwife who's discharging you should check that you're happy with the feeding, that the baby has had at least 1 or 2 good feeds before you leave, if you're having a 6 hour discharge. And if you're not happy
You
with
know,
it,
and if you are
established, stay in and get that support, especially if it's your first baby.
yeah, and I think you know, it is without a birth partner there as well. You're tired, you've been through labour, taking in information can be quite difficult. And I would always say that if you've got a midwife, an infant feeding midwife supporting you and showing you, film them showing you, so that you can show your birth partner at home and get them involved in feeding. I remember that was a massive thing for me, and without a partner to take that information in, you know, it's just a lot. So
it is a lot. It can be overwhelming.
It can be, yeah, it can be. And then if you are expecting twins, or you've had twins, is there extra support for that mother?
I mean, yes, the staff will go out of their way to give extra support, because obviously it will be recognised that that there are two babies. So we would do our very, very best to give as much support, just like we normally would.
Yeah, of course.
Staffing is okay, so it should be just the same as it always is from that respect.
Okay, that was from Ryan. Ryan, if there's any specific questions you've got about expecting twins, please say. And you're right, Laura Infinity, saying that there's video calls at home, aren't there, for breastfeeding? So once you're home, if you have any problems, they're also doing video calls, which is amazing as well.
I mean, Sam is amazed. She'll tell you all about it when you have her on next week.
So tune in on next Tuesday. Can partners come into the ward to help carry the car seat and everything after you've been discharged? Sean confirmed that.
Excellent
yes.
question. It's a no. So when women are discharged, members of staff will bring mum and baby down to the east entrance, and we're asking partners to meet them there.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, good. Good job I asked that. Great. Thanks. Yes. Okay, good. Thanks, Ryan. Okay. But while we're on birth partners then, can birth partners come in for C-section? We've answered that one. Husband is a key worker. Should he self-isolate before I go into labour? Can he still be at the birth if he hasn't managed to self-isolate? I assume that's if he's not showing symptoms. Whoever asked that.
I mean, we're all key workers. If you see, and you're coming into us, so I would say if he's not showing any symptoms, then I don't see why he wouldn't be allowed to come in. But we're really relying on people and being very honest about that. And if your partner does have symptoms or has been at risk and hasn't self-isolated, then we would ask for honesty and transparency, and for mums to allocate maybe a different birth partner.
Okay, great. And Anna, when you're in labour, do you go through the east entrance? And on top of that, are you left there with your birth partner? But I think Sian said this, that your birth partner can bring you up to maternity ward.
Birth partner can bring you up, yes, to the door. And I think at night it's through the other entrance, through A&E, because that is mad, because the east entrance is locked at night time.
Yeah, so it's closed from 10 till 6. Yeah. Okay.
So after 10 p.m, come in through A&E, because
it's great
time.
We're whizzing through these, Susan. What a team! What a team! I hope this is helpful. I'm getting used to all these questions now. So we don't need to take a car seat in with us. No, you don't need to do that. Your husband or partner will have that with you when the midwife brings you down and meets you at the car. Okay, I'm going to keep going. Are you all right for time, lovely?
Yes, yeah, fine.
Okay. East entrance, daytime, yeah.
8:10.
Midwife, sorry, bear with me. Everyone, lots of questions like, can you have a water birth if you've had a previous C-section? Can you have a water birth if you're high risk? I would just, as Susan has said, I think the best thing to do is to contact you directly and discuss it on an individual basis. Am I right?
Yeah, I mean, as I say, anything is possible. It's your choice, as long as someone has had that conversation with you, so you know exactly why certain recommendations are made. And then if you're happy, we would support you in your decisions. But it would need to go through the proper being sorted out antenatally before you go into labour, because when you're
Yeah.
in labour, that's not the time to be discussing it.
Okay.
And yeah.
And I know lots of people that follow or are supported by Infinity Space. They've been asking about the weigh-in clinics, and the fact that they aren't available at children's centres. They can't, you know, nobody can get to them. Are they able to? How is that working? I assume they can't come into the hospital to do that. But after the 10-day discharge, is there anywhere? And it might be a Sam Rush question for next week. But anywhere that yeah, I'll ask her then. But thank you for the question, Laura.
I mean, if the baby's feeding well and it is waking up regularly and spontaneously for feeds and has wet nappies and dirty nappies, then that's a sign that the baby is doing really well and thriving. If there was any concerns, obviously you would need to get in touch with your community midwife, and then your community midwife will make arrangements to support you in that and to either assess feeding or see if there was any concerns about the baby. It would be escalated. So people aren't just going to be left out there with no care. But in the majority of cases, it won't be an issue. But if somebody does have concerns, then the community midwife is the person to get in touch. And again, Sam will be able to give you more detail about what they would do at that point.
Yeah, I think a lot of people are, there's no answers for certain information, and I think that
I think we need to be very careful about, just because we're dealing with COVID-19, we can't forget about all the other things that normally happen. Like, for example, people not contacting the hospital because they think they shouldn't, or that, you know, especially when like every kick counts and stuff like that. So you do still need to be ringing in just for all the normal stuff that you would normally, and it might be a little bit of a different process, and it might be somebody on a phone rather than being able to just come in. But don't sit at home worrying, and don't sit at home feeling like nobody cares or you won't get any care, because you will. Sometimes things do need to be escalated, and sometimes extra support is needed, and that extra support will definitely be provided, but we need to know.
Yeah, it's communication, especially at this time. You're right, absolutely.
And don't ignore other things that you wouldn't normally ignore. You know, still get in touch.
Yeah, absolutely. So who do we email? Can we email the birth centre direct?
There's a Sasha email, and that email will forward emails to me. Obviously, I don't always get to read my emails because I work clinically sometimes, and people might be waiting for a response. So again, to be patient, or they can email. They can ask their community midwives to refer to myself or Joe Willis.
Yeah.
But we need an email contact to make contact with you, if that makes sense.
Okay.
So
I'll post the Sasha email address with this video once I'll repost this video tomorrow.
All the community
Wednesday, and I'll put all of these email with it.
So the community midwives can refer women, but we just need women's emails address that they're happy for us to contact them on, because we won't be able to get back to somebody just with a phone number, because what we're finding is people don't answer their phone because it's no ID, and then we don't get round to calling them back. So it's much better to have that email trail. So you can contact your community midwife and ask them to refer you to us, or contact Sasha, and that's the best way to do it, providing an email address.
Yeah, okay, well, we'll provide that information. Also, can I ask as well, I just want to double check this, but women won't be contacted before their due date to be updated on what the situation is. I think it's important that women are following SASH, Maternity. Your Instagram is brilliant. You're updating it all the time with information. Or before your due date is, you know, it's coming up, phone up, just ring up the maternity and just ask, are there any updates on birth partners, water birth, whatever it is that's specific to you. I assume nobody gets the phone call to be updated. Is that right, Susan?
That's right. I'm afraid. Yeah, we do try and update the SASH Facebook page. There's a SASH Twitter feed and SASH Instagram. And as you say, you can always ring the triage midwife. That number can get very busy. So it's probably better to, if you look at the SASH maternity website, all the information is there.
Yeah. And, you know, we'll also be doing these lives for as long as they're needed all throughout this lockdown. But if we feel that people are finding it really helpful, then we will do them. So as well, just keep tuning in and asking those questions, really. What time are we? Oh, we've nearly, okay, I'm going to ask, I'll do two more. Okay, goodness me. Okay, I've answered a few of those actually. Okay, any postnatal check questions? I think I'm going to do those on Tuesday with Laura. Yeah, there's been quite a few questions like that, Laura, Lemon Tree Laura. People are asking if we need extra things and we've got to stay in for longer, can someone bring them up, or is it a case of someone meeting them down at the entrance?
No, like I've had a few women in today who forgot their charger, and their partners just dropped them up for them, so that's fine. That's fine.
Okay, great.
Just don't want people hanging around, you know, loitering, waiting and bumping into each other. Obviously, they're more than welcome to come, drop the stuff off and leave again.
Yeah, it's amazing, isn't it? These sorts of questions, which are valid questions that everyone's wondering about, but it just goes to show that, you know, that those sort of questions, that's the anxiety, those little details that cause women to worry about it. You know, I don't feel prepared, I don't feel in control, what if, and when you're in the throes of pregnancy and you're preparing to give birth, we don't want you thinking about what ifs. We want you, you know, thinking about the what can go right and what can be wonderful about it. So, you know, your what if questions, throw them out here, ask them. Once they're answered, let them go. Let them go.
Even if
Not worry.
you forget shower gel and you want to have a shower, you know, don't sit there crying because you've no shower gel. Just tell us. Sometimes we have a supply, or maybe somebody could pop down to Boots for you. So, you know, we will do our best to, you know, to help us in any way we can.
Yeah, of course. Susan, I've got lots and lots of other questions. I think we've got to a lot of them. I think what I will do, given that you've been so kind to give us over 45 minutes of your time, again, I take all of the questions that have come up, I put them onto a worksheet, and then I keep asking them each week. Next week, I am going to do postnatal. It's going to be around feeding. I will also talk about postnatal care generally. So bring in your questions. A few people have said that's great. I'm glad. And if there are any topics that you would like me to specifically address, then I will communicate with SASH and we'll see what we can do to do that. Please keep joining me for the Positive Birth Prep, which I'm doing on Thursday evening at 7:30 for 15 minutes. It's a really lovely way just to take all of this. I can see a lot of this anxiety and the stress that, you know, justifiably anyone's feeling at the moment. And we're going to do some nice tools to help you feel calm and sort of breathe away any of that stuff going on for you. They're really proving really great 15 minutes to do. So please join me. Susan, I really appreciate your time. You are an absolute gem, and thank you for everything that you're doing, and your passion just shines through, and how you really care about women and helping them to have the most empowering and positive experience. So thank you so much.
That's okay.
We'll keep doing these, and I'll keep chatting to you and Sian and the team. But will you pass on my thanks to the others as well? Because I know we've all been on WhatsApp trying to work this all out. So I really appreciate it.
No problem at all. Okay.
Thank you, my love.
Thank you.
Thanks to everybody else. And bye, Susan. We'll see you soon.
Care. Bye.
And bye to everybody else. Thanks for joining. I hope it's been helpful, and we'll see you next week.